Picture a piece of fried fish just lifted from the plate. It is hot, golden, crisp at the edges, and still giving off that faint crackle that promises a satisfying bite. Beside it sits a spoonful of tartar sauce, pale, soft, and easy to ignore. It does not look dramatic, it does not look important, and yet remove it, and something feels missing immediately. The fish may still be good, but it no longer feels complete in the same way. That is what makes tartar sauce so strange. It is almost never the star, yet it keeps appearing beside one of the world's most familiar meals. Even its name sounds more elaborate than its appearance suggests. So the question is not just what tartar sauce is made of, but why this quiet sauce exists in this form. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. This is not a story about a sauce. That is why this is not really a story about a condiment. It is a story about what fried food needs to keep tasting good. The first bite of something fried is usually easy to love. It is hot, crisp, rich, and deeply satisfying. But by the second or third bite, another feeling starts to creep in. The crust feels heavier, the oil lingers longer, the flavor grows flatter. The food is still good, but the excitement begins to narrow. Tartar sauce steps into that moment, not to overpower the fish or make the plate seem fancier than it is, but to restore balance. It brings back brightness, moisture, and relief. That is why people remember it, not because it is complicated, but because it performs one small job remarkably well. And that is the kind of detail worth pausing over here. Something secondary, something overlooked, quietly reshaping the experience. Built from contrast. At the center of tartar sauce is mayonnaise, and that matters because mayonnaise carries a specific kind of comfort. It is fatty, smooth, rounded, and soft enough to coat food without resistance. In classic French cooking, it is even treated as one of the great base sauces, an emulsion of oil, egg yolk, and acid, stable enough to hold other flavors inside it. But on its own, that softness can feel too calm, too flat, too willing to simply sit there. Tartar sauce pulls mayonnaise in the opposite direction. Pickles or relish add a bright acidic snap. Lemon juice or vinegar sharpens the edges further, cutting through richness before it has time to settle too heavily. Capers add salt and briny intensity. Herbs make the whole thing feel fresher and more alert. Onion, shallot, or mustard can lend another layer of bite, while chopped egg sometimes gives the texture more body. In sweeter versions, relish adds a faint softness behind the sharpness. What matters is not the exact recipe, because that can change from kitchen to kitchen. What matters is the structure. One part of the sauce is creamy and calming. Another part is sharp and restless. Those forces keep tugging against each other, and that tension is what makes the sauce work. It is memorable not because of one magical ingredient, but because it is built from contrast. When a dramatic name belongs to a quiet sauce, if the sauce itself feels practical, its name feels oddly theatrical. Tartar sauce is a strange title for something so pale and quiet. It sits beside fried fish in a small spoonful, almost modest, yet its name sounds as if it belongs to something much fiercer. That mismatch is part of what makes it linger in the mind. People often assume there must be a direct, tidy connection behind it, as though tartar sauce came straight from one original recipe or one clearly defined tradition. But the story is looser than that. In European history, the word Tartar carried associations of distance, intensity, and otherness. French cooking later borrowed that sound and attached it to food seen as sharper, stronger, or more boldly seasoned. One famous example is steak tartare, raw seasoned beef served uncooked. Sauce tartare seems to have inherited the same echo, not because the sauce itself belonged directly to the Tatars, but because its flavor could be understood as lively, bold, or zesty. And that is the irony at its center. The name sounds dramatic, the sauce behaves quietly. It does not dominate the plate, it completes it. Yet maybe that gap between language and function is exactly what helped it stay memorable. Behind the oversized name is not an exotic mystery, but something more grounded. a familiar French base adjusted for a practical purpose. From a base sauce to a finishing sauce, that practical purpose becomes clearer in the French kitchen. In classical French cooking, a sauce is not there for decoration. It is part of how a dish is adjusted, softened, sharpened, or brought into balance. Seen from that angle, tartar sauce makes perfect sense. It is not a random mixture that happened to survive. It is a logical extension of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise already offers fat, smoothness, and enough body to soften harsher flavors. But on its own, it can also feel heavy and a little too quiet. Tartar sauce feels like the next sensible step. Take that familiar base and give it lift. Add acidity to brighten it. Add something briny or herbal to keep it moving. Add texture so the mouth does not sink into sameness. What emerges is not a completely different invention, but a more alert version of something already known. That helps explain why it lasts. Many enduring foods are not elaborate creations. They are familiar things refined at exactly the right point. They survive because the adjustment is small, but the effect is disproportionately satisfying. Tartar sauce belongs to that category. It is mayonnaise, but tuned to wake food up, and once you see it as a finishing sauce rather than a side extra, its partnership with fried fish starts to feel inevitable. Why fried fish asks for it? You can feel that most clearly with fried fish. The first bite is easy to love. The crust is crisp, the inside is tender, the heat is comforting, and the richness feels generous rather than excessive. There is a reason fried fish has become such a lasting pleasure in so many places. It offers contrast inside itself, crunch outside, softness within. But fried food also carries a risk inside its pleasure. By the second or third bite, the oil lingers longer. The crispness begins to feel heavier. The flavor flattens slightly, not because the food has become bad, but because your mouth starts asking for another kind of signal. It wants relief. It wants brightness. It wants something that can keep the meal from sinking under its own richness. That is the moment tartar sauce is built for. A little on the fork, and the whole bite opens up again. What felt dense becomes brighter. What felt greasy becomes cleaner. The fish tastes more like itself, not less. The acidity cuts through the oil without stripping away the comfort of the dish. The creaminess does something subtler. It does not fight the crisp coating. It glides into it, almost extending the texture instead of interrupting it. Then the chopped pickles, capers, herbs, or onions create little points of disruption. Brief flashes of salt, brightness, and bite that keep each mouthful from collapsing into sameness. That is why fish and chips can feel oddly unfinished without it. The sauce does not transform fried fish into something else. It simply nudges it back toward balance at the exact moment the meal starts to tire. Tartar sauce is not memorable because it overwhelms the plate. It is memorable because it knows exactly where the plate begins to need help, and quietly answers that need. The sauce changes, but the job stays the same. Once a sauce does that job well, it is no surprise that different places start reshaping it to suit their own tastes. In the United Kingdom, tartar sauce is often chunkier, with visible pieces of pickle and herbs that make it feel rustic and direct. In the United States, it is usually smoother and sometimes sweeter, often shaped by sweet pickle relish and a softer texture. Elsewhere, people may work in dill, parsley, olives, mustard, or slightly different ratios of acid, salt, and creaminess. But the interesting part is not deciding which version is most authentic. The interesting part is noticing that all of them are trying to do the same thing. They bring brightness to heavy food, moisture to dry bites, and a sharper edge to flavors that might otherwise blur together. That is why the sauce travels so easily beyond seafood. It works in sandwiches, beside fries, and on burgers for the same reason it works with fish. Its ingredients can shift, but its job remains recognizable. Even at home, it is simple to adjust. More tangy, more herby, even a little spicier if needed. A small rule for keeping tartar sauce right. There is one small practical rule worth knowing here. If you do not finish the tartar sauce, treat it like something perishable, not like a harmless extra left on the plate. Cover it well, return it to the refrigerator quickly, and do not let it sit at room temperature for too long. A good rule is 2 hours at most, or just 1 hour if the weather is very hot. Keep it cold, ideally at refrigerator temperature. And if you are saving leftovers, use them within the next few days, rather than letting them drift to the back of the fridge. That may sound like a minor kitchen habit, but it actually fits the whole logic of tartar sauce. This is a condiment built around freshness, brightness, and contrast. Once it sits out too long, the thing that makes it useful begins to disappear. Why something this quiet endures? And that may be the reason tartar sauce endures. It is rarely the part of the meal people describe first. No one usually leaves the table talking about its color, beauty, or the elegance of its shape. It does not arrive with spectacle. It does not demand attention. But some things last precisely because they do not rely on spectacle. They last because they solve a small problem with unusual precision. Tartar sauce extends the pleasure of the meal. It keeps richness from turning into fatigue. It helps crisp food stay exciting a little longer. In that sense, it is more than a condiment. It is part of the final adjustment that makes the whole plate feel complete. And maybe that is the deeper pattern hidden inside it. In food, as in many ordinary parts of life, what feels minor at first is sometimes what determines whether an experience stays satisfying or begins to fall apart. Tartar sauce looks simple because its work is hidden. But hidden work still shapes what we enjoy. A pale sauce beside a piece of fish may not seem like much to notice, yet it carries history, balance, and a surprisingly exact understanding of what fried food lacks. What sits quietly on the side of the plate may be doing more than the center ever could. If this video made you look at one side dish differently, subscribe for more stories hiding inside ordinary things. And if there is another everyday food people use all the time without really stopping to question it, leave it in the comments. Sometimes the smallest part of a meal is the part with the longest story.